In 1988, a 17-year-old Japanese girl was kidnapped, tortured, and raped more than 500 times. This is the story of Junko Furuta. Today, when you think of Japan, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? Anime, video games, Japanese cuisine? Japan today has truly become a mecca of pop culture, but it wasn't always this way. It has a very dark past. This story begins in 1988. Junko Furuta was a 17-year-old girl studying at Yashio and Minami High School. She was very famous within her school circle, and everyone had a positive opinion of her. They described her as a friendly, pretty, and kind girl. Along with doing well in school, Junko also worked a part-time job. After graduating from high school, she planned to attend college. Because of her looks and intelligence, Junko was very popular among the boys at her school. One of these boys was Hiroshi Miyano. Unlike Junko, Hiroshi was a bully. He had links with a Yakuza gang, and even though he was still in school, he was involved in various crimes. Hiroshi was very fond of Junko and even proposed to her, thinking she wouldn't refuse because of his Yakuza gang connections. Hiroshi wanted to make Junko his girlfriend and establish himself as the big man at school, but to his astonishment, she politely rejected him. Hiroshi couldn't handle the rejection and became furious, deciding to take revenge on Junko. On November 25, 1988, Junko Furuta was coming home from her part-time job when, on Hiroshi's orders, his friend Shinji Minato kicked her off her bike and ran away. As part of the plan, Hiroshi then appeared to help her. He picked her up and offered to walk her home, which she accepted. But sadly, she never made it home. Instead of taking her home, Hiroshi took her to an abandoned warehouse where he threatened her, saying that if she made any noise, he would kill her and her family. Obviously, because of Hiroshi's gang connections, Junko was terrified. He then called his friends Shinji Minato, Joe Ogura, and Yasushi Watanabe, and together they took her to Shinji's parents' house, which later became their main hideout. 2 days after Junko was kidnapped, her family filed a missing person report. When Hiroshi and his friends found out about the report, they forced Junko to call her home and tell her family that she had run away of her own will, that she was safe, and that she was staying with her friends. By getting the police and her parents off their backs, Hiroshi and his friends did something to Junko that was beyond all monstrosity. Shinji, whose house they were keeping Junko in, told his parents that Junko was his girlfriend. But his parents knew that wasn't true, and yet they remained silent out of fear. For 44 days, Hiroshi and his friends tortured Junko. Over 500 times, different boys raped her. When they were not satisfied, those heartless boys brutally beat her, hanging her upside down and using her as a punching bag. And the torture didn't stop there. They inserted scissors, bottles, rods, and exploding hot iron bulbs into her genitals. They crossed all limits of cruelty. Those monsters didn't even think once before cutting off her breasts. They burned her genitals and other body parts with lighters. They even crushed her abdomen by dropping heavy dumbbells on her. They made her drink urine and eat cockroaches. They tortured her so badly that she could no longer stand on her feet. She had to crawl just to use the bathroom. Imagine that all of this torture went on for 44 days. On January 4th, 1989, they poured lighter fluid all over Junko's body and set her on fire. This final torture lasted for 2 hours, and by the end of that day, she died. Even after Junko's death, they had no remorse for their actions. It's like they weren't even human. They wrapped Junko's body in a blanket, stuffed her into an empty drum, filled the drum with concrete, and got rid of it. This is how the 44 days of torture ended along with Junko's life. On January 23, 1989, Hiroshi and Joe Ogura were arrested by the police in connection with the rape of a 19-year-old girl they had committed in December, the same time Junko was captive with them. During the interrogation for the rape case, the police began questioning them about another murder case. Thinking the police were talking about Junko, Hiroshi and Joe confessed everything. But the police weren't asking about Junko at all. They were questioning them about another murder case that had taken place just a few days before Junko's murder. In fear, they confessed everything to the police. Now let's talk about the court hearing. They pleaded guilty, but in everyone's opinion, the justice system failed Junko, her family, and society. Because they were considered minors, Hiroshi was sentenced to only 17 years in prison, which was later increased to 20 years. Minato was sentenced to 9 years in prison. Shinji's parents knew everything that was happening in their house for 44 days, but never informed the police, yet no legal action was taken against them. Yasushi Watanabe was sentenced to 5 to 7 years in prison, and Joe Ogura received 8 years. Obviously, there was a lot of outrage over these extremely light sentences. Everyone believed that all 4 of them should have been sentenced to life imprisonment, but since they were minors, their jail time wasn't changed. Junko Furuta's parents filed a civil suit against the parents of those boys, and they won the case. Junko's funeral took place on April 2nd, 1989, and many people attended. It was an emotional sight. One of Junko's school friends wrote a heartfelt memorial for her. At her graduation, the school principal gave Junko's diploma to her parents. Junko's case is one of the most brutal torture cases the world has ever seen. Even today, people pay their respects to her. Thank you so much for watching this video till the end. It took a lot of time and effort to make this video, so I would really appreciate your support by subscribing to the channel so that I can bring more such videos to you in the future. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next video with another story.